Google is heading to court this Tuesday to confront government officials who have leveled antitrust allegations against the tech giant in relation to its extensive search operations. Now, this legal showdown, which has been highly anticipated, could have far-reaching implications for one of the internet's most dominant platforms. Taking place in Washington this week before a federal judge, this trial will mark the culmination of two ongoing lawsuits against Google that originated during the Trump administration. Legal experts are describing these actions as the most significant monopolization case in the United States since the government's antitrust battle with Microsoft in the 1990s. The Justice Department and numerous states lodged complaints in 2020 accusing Google of abusing its dominance in online search. Now, they alleged that Google harmed competition through agreements with wireless carriers and smartphone manufacturers that made Google search the default or exclusive choice on devices used by millions of consumers. And over time, these complaints were consolidated into one single case. Google's stance throughout the legal ordeal has been that it competes fairly and that consumers prefer its tools due to their quality, not because the company has engaged in illegal practices to stifle competition. In 2022, Google's search business contributed more than half of Alphabet, Google's parent company's $283 billion revenue of Alphabet, we're talking about Alphabet, and $76 billion in net income. Google's search engine has played a pivotal role in propelling the company to a market capitalization exceeding $1.7 trillion. So now Google is bracing for a multi-week trial that has the potential to reshape how the company distributes its search engine to users. This case is expected to feature testimonies from notable witnesses, including former Google and Samsung employees, as well as executives from Apple, including Senior Vice President Eddie Q. It is the first of several court challenges aimed at curbing the extensive economic power of large tech companies, testing the judiciary's willingness to enforce restrictions on such platforms. I'm definitely not a huge politics guy, and talking about the judicial system, stuff like that, but just that it all includes Google, which is maybe the biggest tech company currently. It's all very fascinating. Kent Walker, Google's president of global affairs, basically boiled it down to saying that people choose to use Google and they are not forced to use Google, making the point of saying that, maybe on some of these devices Google was the default, but he says that changing your default search engine is easy, and yeah, it is. Now, in the initial complaint, the US government alleged that Google paid billions of dollars annually to device manufacturers such as Apple, LG, Motorola, and Samsung, as well as browser developers like Mozilla and Opera, to secure its position as their default search engine and, in many instances, to prevent them from collaborating with Google's competitors. According to the complaint, as a result of these arrangements, they're saying that Google effectively has a monopoly on about 80% of search engines in the US. And furthermore, the lawsuit contends that Google's dealings with device manufacturers concerning its Android operating system are anti-competitive because they require smartphone companies to pre-install other Google-owned apps such as Gmail, Chrome, or Maps. Now, when the lawsuit was initially filed, US antitrust officials did not rule out the possibility of breaking up Google, expressing concerns that Google's actions could hinder future innovation or even the emergence of a Google successor. Separately, a coalition of states led by Colorado leveled additional allegations against Google, asserting that the way Google structures its search results, the search results page, the way they structure it, they're saying it hampers competition by prioritizing the company's own apps and services over content from other small third-party sites, including web pages, links, reviews, and content. Now, it is worth mentioning that in a recent ruling in Washington, D.C., a judge did dismiss these claims, which narrowed the scope of allegations that Google must defend. The judge at the time stated that the states had not presented sufficient enough evidence to warrant a trial to determine whether Google's search results and their rankings were anti-competitive. But despite this ruling, the trial represents the U.S. government government's most substantial progress in challenging Google thus far. The previous judge did acknowledge that Google's position as the default search engine on multiple web browsers is a continuous issue and that the trial will ultimately determine whether this constitutes exclusionary conduct in the actual market reality. So all of this is starting on Tuesday, just 2 days from now. I think it's very interesting that this is going to be one of the biggest cases similar to this since the government's antitrust battle with Microsoft in the 1990s. I had never heard about that, by the way. And I'm just looking it up now. It looks like the actual trial took place in 2001. And in case you are curious, it does look like Microsoft did lose that battle. It was ruled that Microsoft's dealings in what they were doing at the time were unconstitutional, I guess. Looks like they used the words unlawful monopolization. So yeah, it sounds kind of similar to the current Google battle. Without a doubt, Google is one of the biggest, if not the biggest companies in the US and maybe worldwide. A big ruling in the government's favor here could result in a lot of things maybe changing for Google. Maybe they wouldn't have as much dominance in the tech market. I don't know. We'll see. So get your popcorn. Tuesday, it all goes down.